All right, well, I'll go ahead and get started here. My name is Leah Santa Cruz. For those who have never met me yet or have only met me maybe once, maybe you've taken a class at the Yoga Barn, maybe you've been here in Bali, maybe you've just been following me uh, on social media. I am a meditation teacher in Bali. I work at a really amazing studio called the Yoga Barn, and I am also the meditation coach on an app called Balance. And I have been meditating for, I don't even know how many years now, but I have been teaching meditation for just over 10 years. And I have found along the way of my own journey some things that have, really, really supported me in my own ability to rewire the programming that I had as a child, as a young adult, and to experience more joy and more happiness. And I'm really excited to share that here with you guys. And so this first workshop is about the science of self-love, about using affirmations to rewire our brains. And as I begin, I want to share a quote that I love from one of my favorite poets, a man that goes by InQ. And he shared a statement that has stuck with me through the years. You will always find the evidence for what you choose to believe. You will always find the evidence for what you choose to believe. And that really struck me because, growing up, I I chose to believe a lot of negative things about myself. I chose to believe so many limiting thoughts, that I wasn't good enough, that success was for other people, not for me, that I wasn't worthy of love or respect. There was so many things that I chose to believe, and I did it subconsciously often. And I was able to find the evidence for that in my life. And that just reinforced those negative beliefs about myself or about others or about the world. Sometimes we have negative beliefs about others, like, hey, or men or women can't be trusted, or nobody else can get anything done, so I'll have to do everything myself. These kinds of beliefs that we tend to stick with us subconsciously. And we'll find the evidence for those, of course. But the great thing about this statement is that when we choose to flip the script and say, what is it that I want to believe instead of this negative limiting belief, we can find the evidence for those things and start to reinforce and reprogram new ways of thinking and new ways of being and new patterns of behavior and thought, which is super exciting. So to share a little more about my past, as I grew up in a household, there was a lot of, you could say, chaos. There was a lot of movement. I was constantly moving schools. My parents were separated. I was living back and forth between two different households. There was a lot of animosity in my households towards one another, and just a lot of toxicity and codependency, as so many families in the world today probably are similar. My parents were struggling to figure things out on their own, and with their own traumas and their own histories, family patterns. And so doing the best they can still reinforced within me this mindset that I continued to bring not only as a child, but into my teen years and into my early adult years. Even now, I still have to work through, recognizing when these beliefs pop up, recognizing when they are sneaking in kind of creepy like and trying to run the show. So I found that at a period of time in my early 20s, I started to recognize how stuck I was in my life in so many areas. In my career, I was stuck. I was doing something that I didn't love. I didn't have passion for. It did not feel aligned for me. In fact, it went against a lot of my values. Um, and it was just for the simple security and safety of the paycheck that was coming in. I found myself stuck in my relationships. I was uh, in a long-term relationship with someone where we had a lot of toxic ways of relating. both of us. I was a big contributor in it. And I thought, wow, I just can't seem to know how to move forward, how to break through this. I found myself stuck in my physical health. I was breaking down physically. I was, well, pushing myself way too hard, running 10 miles a day before work, going to the gym afterwards, just trying to work out all my demons, you could say. But I started to have a lot of physical problems from that. And by a certain point, I had walking pneumonia, and my doctor said, you better take a leave of absence. Go take care of your mental health. Go take care of your physical health. Maybe do some yoga. Thank God I had a doctor that said that to me, because I was able to then go take some yoga classes and find my teacher, who became a great inspiration for my journey to start studying and practicing meditation, and why I'm here today. But I'm all telling you all this to let you know that, most of us are in similar camps when it comes to these limiting beliefs. Uh, I don't know a single person, honestly, no matter how conscious they are, or how many years they've been on the path of transformation, who doesn't still struggle in some way, shape, or form with some limiting beliefs. And that's because these things are invisible to us most of the time. They live under the surface. In fact, you can say that our blocks in life often are caused by our subconscious needs for safety. So that seems a little strange when you think about it, but it makes sense when you break it down. Our ego, our personality, the who I am to the world, our subconscious mind wants to be safe more than anything else. We want to feel safe and know that we're going to be alive at the end of the day. That is the biggest fear, is the fear of death, right? And taking a risk into the unknown, well, to our subconscious mind, that could equal death. We don't know, because it's unknown. So better that we stay in our familiar comfort zones, even if that familiar comfort zone is staying in a career that we don't love, staying in relationships that are toxic, doing things that are habitually bad for us. But here's the thing, it's still known to our subconscious mind as, hey, maybe I'm miserable in this. Maybe I'm unhappy, sure, but I'm alive. I'm safe. I'm not about to die in this situation. So why would I take a risk? This is sort of the way of thinking that our subconscious mind tends to have when it comes to the world. And that doesn't necessarily benefit us. It helps us survive, yes, but it doesn't help us thrive. It doesn't help us to live a meaningful, purpose-driven life filled with joy and aliveness. Because for that, we tend to need to take some risks out of our comfort zones. And sometimes those risks can feel really scary. When I left that relationship I was in, it felt really scary. I thought, will I ever find someone as good as this? Will I just thrown away, some really important relationship that I just will regret for the rest of my life? But I had to take a risk. And fortunately, I was able to create space from that to invite in an even better relationship for me with my now husband, Paul. It was so scary for me to step away from the career that I had working at Microsoft in the tech industry. I was like, I've reached this pinnacle of success by my family's means, by society's ideas, but to take that leap, people thought I was nuts. They're like, where are you going to go next? I don't know. I'm going to go to Africa and figure out what I'm going to do. They're like, what? You don't have a backup plan? Like, you don't have like a career that you're moving into, another job? No. That was bewildering to many people, and even to my subconscious mind. But there was a certain point where I recognized that I'm being limited by my fear of the unknown. And that propelled me to go, I'm going to take this leap of faith. I'm going to step into the unknown, which is the scariest thing possible. And everything in me is telling me, you're not going to figure this out. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough. You're not resourceful enough to figure this out. You're going to fall on your face. But I had to listen to those thoughts of fear and do it anyways. And those thoughts of fear, as mean as they can sound, is really just a part of us that is longing to stay safe. And so it will tend to use these types of critical, negative self-talk to deter us from taking those risks into the unknown. Because better that we stay safe and alive, right? So this is a little bit of the background behind understanding the fear involved here. So the fear of the unknown translates into negative self-talk and our limiting beliefs. So here's some common ones that we tend to believe about ourselves. Maybe you can recognize some of these. Maybe some of them are don't resonate with, but many people have some combination of these and more. This is not a limited list. Everyone will hate me if I do this thing. I'll hurt my friends and family. Maybe I'll go crazy. I'll abandon my friends and family. I don't have good enough ideas. I'm not smart enough. I'm not resourceful enough. Maybe I'll upset my mother and my father. Maybe I'll have to be alone. Ooh, maybe I'll do bad work and I'll look foolish, or I'll be too angry, or I'm not handsome enough, I'm not pretty enough. I'll never have any real money, or I'll get self-destructive, or I'll get sick, or any number of diseases. My lover will leave me. I'll die. That this is a very, very extreme, right? But these are really thoughts that a lot of us have about the the risks involved in taking leaps into outside of our comfort zone. Or I'll feel bad because I don't deserve success. Maybe I only have one good piece of ideas or work within me. Or it's too late. It's too late for me. I'm too old. If I haven't already done it already, I'll never will. These are insidious beliefs. So the great news here is that we can question these things in our meditation. And this is what I started to do. I started to question, where do these beliefs come from? Where do these beliefs come from? So that's a question that you can start to ask yourself. The next time that you notice that you have a negative self-talk or an inner critic voice that comes up, or just a feeling of doubt in yourself, feeling disbelief, where did this thought come from? Not like what part of the brain did it stem from and whatnot, but rather, how old was I when I started to believe this? Is this a thought that really is truly coming from me? Or maybe it's something I heard. Maybe it's something that was passed down to me by a parent or caregiver, a coach, a teacher, a friend. Often our limited self-beliefs tend to stem from others in our environment around us, unbeknownst to us. So in meditation, our task is to become an observer of our thoughts. This is one of the big skills of meditation. What does that mean? That means I'm no longer in the thought so much that I'm existentially identified with it, like I am the thought, that's me, that's true, but rather I'm observing these thoughts passing by. And a good way to practice this skill is to just simply take a few seconds, and we can do it right now. We can take 10 seconds to just notice what thoughts flow through your mind. And people have different kinds of thought forms. Sometimes you hear it in a voice, like your own voice or the voice of someone else. Sometimes we see thoughts written out in front of us. Sometimes people have just a visual image or just a felt sense in their body, like a cognitive knowing. So let's just take about 10 seconds here. I'm going to be silent and just let you notice and observe your own thoughts and see if you can just see them moving on past you instead of being so in them. You just create a little separation so you're just noticing it go by, not resisting it, not encouraging it, just noticing. Let's take 10 seconds now. All right, I know that wasn't a long time, but this is a practice that you can start to do on your own when you have 30 seconds or a minute here and there and you're bored. Just observe your thoughts. Just start to become the observer and notice what happens. You might have noticed a thought or two pop up there, like how much time is passing or whatever the thought was. What am I having for dinner? These are just impulses, energetic impulses passing through. And you have the opportunity in meditation to start to step back just a little bit and notice them. Most of the time, we become so involved in the thought and identified with a thought that we believe everything to be true, factual. Everything my mind says must be true. Because this is me. We identify our thoughts as being me. But what if those thoughts were not actually you? You are the one observing the thought. You're the witness, and this is the thought passing through. Just like you're the witness to an itch in your arm, right? Doesn't mean that you are the itch in the arm, but you're experiencing an itch in your arm, and it's going to come and go, just like these thoughts are going to come and go. So start to practice stepping into that observer seat in meditation, and then question those thoughts. Is this actually true? Because it may not be an assertion, a fact, a truth. Most often, it's just an opinion. It's an assessment. And you can start to question that. But is this actually true? And that's going to create a little wedge. That's the beginning of us breaking the loop, breaking the cycle of believing these things. And you can start to ask, well, where did this come from? There is so many different parts of us that sometimes one part of us is going to believe something, and another part's going to go, I don't know about that. But our true self is rarely there, just observing it all with compassion and openness. So stepping into that true self, that observer seat, to be able to see everything more objectively and to be able to question those beliefs as they come is super important as a skill for you. So I give you that little seed to plant for later when you're in meditation. So you can ask these kinds of questions I've listed here. What's the first time you started feeling this way? Or you can ask the subconscious mind, what are you trying to protect me from or prevent from happening? You might start to get some insight there into what the belief is actually trying to prevent you from. And oftentimes it's just a fear of rejection or a fear of being hurt or a fear of failing. What do you need to feel good, to relax, to thrive? These are also really great questions to start to ask the part of you that's been believing these negative thoughts. And you'll start to get to the real heart of the matter. What is it that I need in this moment? Sometimes we just need to give ourselves some reassurance, a hug, a chance to just let off some steam, and the ability to just be there for ourselves like a loving parent would be for a child. That's often what's really, really needed with our inner critic, not to silence the voice and put it in the dungeon and just demolish it, give ourselves a lobotomy. That's not what we're here to do. In meditation, we're here to tap into compassion and understanding and to break these things down and to figure out what's really going on so then I can unroot the cause. All right. So here's a little exercise that you can do on your own time. Since I want to keep us this workshop brief, I want to give you these tools that you can do on your own. Here's an exercise in locating and identifying when your inner critic shows up. So take a look at these statements here. You can jot them down. You can watch this later. And I want you to write these down at least 5 times, but ideally up to 10 times in a row. You might pick, I deserve love. I deserve love. I deserve love. I deserve love. Just start writing it. And as you're writing, you're going to notice something happen. Pretty quickly, that inner critic's going to pop up and have some objections to this. It happens to all of us. That inner critic might say things like, yeah, but what about that time when, so-and-so dumped you? Or what about that time that you were rejected? And you're going to start to see the inner critic pop up and give you objections like, yeah, but maybe I'm just like, my parents and they're not lovable or whatever it wants to say to you. Take a note of those thoughts and write it down. Write down every single one of those objections. Now, this is not meant to be something that makes you feel worse. This is super, super important work in identifying what is the inner critic saying to me? What are those thoughts? And as you start to write them down, you might start to realize, like, wow, I can really bully myself, or these are pretty ridiculous statements, or this is not something I'd ever allow someone to say to me, right? But we're saying it to ourselves. When I started to do this exercise, I was just blown away by the intensity and meanness that my inner critic had towards me. And it was so helpful in recognizing it again when it would pop up later that go, aha, I recognize this as my inner critic. And it was that little bit of separation, not identifying with it as me or as truth, that was important for me to start rewiring this process. So you can write things like I deserve love, or I deserve more pay. That taps into our worthiness. I deserve a rich, creative, rewarding life. I have rich creative talents. I am competent and confident in my creative work. I'm a brilliant or prolific or successful, fill in the blanks, whatever it is that you do. Um, and you can find other statements as well, but these are really helpful ones to start with. And just to start to see what different objections pop up here is really going to be helpful for you later on. The next part of this exercise is a little bit of time travel. Now you've got this list of objections that you've been putting together. You can see it right in front of you, stark and clear. Then you can start to ask, where did these thoughts come from? Did it come from my mom? Did this one come from my dad? Did this come from a teacher? From kids at school growing up? From someone else? A former lover, a former boss, whoever. So start to investigate where you might have heard some of these things, or where this could have crept in from outside of you. And some helpful ways that people find is this could take a little more time, but to break your life into 5-year increments, 1 to 5, 5 to 10, etc. And in each 5-year increment of age, list by name who were the major influences in your life at that time. Who were the people who were around influencing you at that time in your life? And then you might start to cue into where some of these limiting beliefs stemmed from. And this is not to demonize other people or to point a finger of blame, but it's rather to create an understanding within yourself, right? So that you can move through these things and overcome them. Now look at those list of objections and recognize that each one of these is holding you back in some way. Each one of our beliefs holds us back. We self-sabotage. We don't live to our full potential when we have these beliefs. So start to recognize, how is each one of these holding me back? And you might do some journaling on that or some reflection on that in your meditation. It's good to find an affirmation statement that works directly with the things that you're struggling with. So, if you see yourself as, I am untalented, I'm a fraud, which a lot of people, we have this imposter syndrome, right? We can start to look at affirmations like, I'm willing to see myself as a genius and talented, right? I believe I am genuinely talented. I am genuinely talented. So it's helpful at times to stagger these affirmations. I'm going to get to that in just a moment. But we want to help our subconscious mind find an affirmation that it can start to believe and get along with. If it's too bold in the opposite direction, we just won't believe it. We'll just go, yeah, right. No thanks. Thanks, but no thanks. So we got to find an affirmation that works on a level that we can start to believe. Like, I am willing to see myself as genuinely talented. Now, that's just saying I'm willing to see myself. So your subconscious mind can go, okay, well, maybe I don't believe I'm genuinely talented yet, but I believe that I am willing to see myself as that. So that's where you begin. And then later on, when that becomes so easy, you're like, of course I'm willing to see myself. Then you're ready to say things like, I am ready to believe I'm genuinely talented. That's another step in the direction. Okay. Now, once you start to really believe that, Then you can start to say, I am genuinely talented. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense to you, staggering these in steps. If you're still a little confused about affirmations, affirmations are simply a phrase that we can repeat out loud or silently to yourself. So if you're in public, you don't have to be saying, I am enough. I am enough in front of a crowd of people, right? But you can say it to yourself silently. And you can do this casually. You can do this in a meditation. There's no real right or wrong way to do this. But it's not necessarily, oftentimes affirmations are confused with mantras. Mantras are a meditation technique where you repeat a sound again and again and then let it release until you drift into transcendence. But this is a little different. Affirmations are meant to be something that are more active, that you're saying it and you're resonating with the emotion of it, the feeling in your body, and as much as possible, affirming it to be true. And not just saying the words, but really connecting to it with your heart, with full meaning. Saying things like this about ourselves can sometimes feel weird at first. Sometimes we feel awkward or a little silly, a little dumb, a little embarrassing, or whatever you might believe. Some people think it's a little woo-woo, but just experiment with these things. Just try it. And over time, you're going to start to see how the benefits of these things work for you in helping you achieve more hope and more of a sense of safety and helping calm that subconscious mind's fear so that you can start to live the life that you want to live. And there's some science behind this as well. I put in an article link here. I can send it to you later in the email, but the science says that the neurons that fire together wire together. So the more frequently that we fire our brain's neurons through repetition, telling ourselves something, aiming to believe something, not just visualizing it, but connecting with the emotion of it, the elevated feeling, then our thinking and speaking, our behaviors, they start to set in as more permanent. We start to concrete these things. The more that we do it through repetition, the more that we see this become easy for us. Think of a field in the middle of nowhere, full of grass and weeds, and a truck starts to drive down that field. At first, it's going to be pretty bumpy. It's going to be a rough ride. There's no path laid out before it. But if that truck goes down that road every day or multiple times a day, over the weeks, over the months, you're going to start to see that path lay out before it. It's going to become easier and easier and easier. So this is what happens in our minds. This becomes easier and easier and easier to believe these things. So at first it might be challenging. You might have to force yourself to do this. But with time, it's going to start being more effortless. And eventually, this is going to be the way that you believe. So give it a shot. Here's another thing that can be helpful. When you use repetition through conscious language, saying things like, I'm so overwhelmed. If you flip the script and say, I don't do overwhelm, and you use that word don't rather than I can't, that is going to be super helpful. There's research that shows that using the word don't rather than can't is going to improve your self-talk, positive self-talk by 8 times. It's going to make it 8 times more effective. So start to phrase affirmations with don't when it's around like resisting temptations or any kind of addictions that you have. Like if you're addicted to feeling overwhelmed in your life, I don't do overwhelm. I don't do social media. I don't do whatever it is that you've been struggling with, leaning on. So that's a little another helpful tip for you in creating your own affirmations. Here's some other common ones that you can use. Really great to do after meditation or during meditation, because once we get into our relaxation response with meditation, we start to allow our subconscious mind to be more open and primed for believing new things and restructuring our thinking. So I'm enough. I'm worthy of love and respect. I am capable. I believe in myself. There's so many different options, and here's some for you. Make a list for yourself of the ones that feel like they resonate most for you. Okay, so we're going to do a quick meditation here in a moment. But First, I want to just quickly remind you that as you are meditating, if your critical thoughts or some intrusive thoughts decide to join us for part of the journey, here's the plan of action. Let go of trying to block the thoughts. That's a useless time for your effort. Instead of trying to block the thought, just witness it. Listen, notice it, and breathe. Let your breath meet the thought. Don't let yourself be fooled by it as a truth. This is just like a habitual tape loop playing over and over again in your mind's eye. Practice instead giving kindness and compassion to yourself, recognizing that this is just a part of me that might be scared or have fear around something. It's trying to protect me from something, and it might be doing its job a little too good. So I can provide some reassurance and be that loving parent for myself that I need to right now. So practice giving kindness and acceptance to yourself in this moment, as you would to a friend or a child. Practice forgiving and respecting yourself when these things happen in your meditation or anytime. And then in the next moment, when you're ready to, just bring your attention to the point of interest, to where I'm guiding you in the meditation or to your anchor, and bring your attention to something that you love. So we're going to bring our attention to affirmations. We're going to start with a little bit of calming breathing, and then we're going to move into an affirmation. I'm going to do one that is more of a general one. I am enough. I am worthy. Now, if that doesn't resonate for you, or there's something that resonates for you better, you can look back at this list that I had, choose something else in place of it, and repeat that to yourself. Okay? And then once we complete the meditation, I'm going to open it up for a quick Q&A and answer any questions. All right, let's go ahead and find a comfortable position. We're going to spend a few minutes here. Simply just allow yourself to, I like to sit with some back support, or you might lie down if that feels more comfortable for you. Either way, just make sure that you can be comfortable for the next 10 minutes. And let's invite a deep breath in. And release. Let's do that again. This time we'll take 2 sharp in-breaths through the nose and 1 long exhale out the mouth, like this. So let's do that with me. Inhale, inhale. Again. And once more for good measure. Very nice. Now begin to feel the surface beneath your body. Really lean into that support. Letting your shoulders fall away from your ears. Relaxing your forehead and the space between your eyes. Softening your jaw. Notice if you're holding any tension through your shoulders or back of the neck, through your chest and heart, in your abdomen. See if you can soften here. And notice how your breath moves through your body. Much like water entering sand as the tide flows in. On the tide of the inhale, the breath flows through the body, permeating the whole body like water entering sand. And as the tide flows out with the exhale, let yourself surrender even more, letting go of any tension you've been holding, letting go of any negativity from today or this week, letting it all go through the exhale. And following this breath for just a moment longer to feel how this breath soothes you on the inhale, nourishing the whole body, and releases on the exhale. Letting go of any thoughts that are gripping you. Letting go of whatever mood has been here that you'd like to release. And as you notice thoughts passing through your mind, can you just be an observer, a witness to these thoughts? Recognizing that I am not the thought, but I am rather observing it passing by, just like clouds pass through the sky. I'd like you to repeat, either out loud or internally, silently repeating these words after me. I am enough. I am worthy. I am capable. And really resonate and let those words sink in as you do. I am enough. Just as I am enough. I am capable. I am capable of all that I put my mind to. I am worthy. I am worthy of love. I am worthy of respect. I am worthy of abundance. And as you sit with these words in your mind and body, just noticing if other thoughts arise. And let your breath meet those thoughts. Recognize when other thoughts or objections are simply parts of us longing to protect us or that are afraid. You might imagine giving that part of yourself a hug, parts of you that have needed to hear it or feel it. Just like calming an afraid child. And so as you hold that part of yourself with compassion, forgiveness, repeating those words of encouragement one more time. I am enough. I am worthy. And I am capable. And now spend this last moment just visualizing yourself. Visualizing yourself really living this statement out. Perhaps it's seeing yourself receiving love, respect, or abundance. Seeing yourself finish a project or take on a new adventure successfully. Maybe it's seeing yourself really loving yourself. And now let's take a deep breath in and exhale. And when you're ready to, you can slowly open your eyes and return to this space. Welcome back. It's always good to take a few moments after meditation to just reflect on what came up for you. It's always a good time for journaling. Thank you for joining me for that meditation, that talk. I want to open it up now to some questions if you have any. I've got a few moments here to do some questions and before we leave. So feel free to unmute yourself if you have questions.
That was beautiful there. Thank you. I've also attended a few of the classes at Yoga Bone, and I've listened to a gift you gave many years ago for Christmas. You gave it a beautiful Stevie Yoga Nidra. I've listened to that over many years. It's even helped me with sleeping tablet addictions. So thank you for that. I'd love to know where I can get the future meet your future self meditation. I actually wanted to come to your class yesterday. I was very ill.
Okay. Yeah, for anyone interested in the Meet Your Future Self, if you just go to my website, leahsantacruz.com, I just put it in the chat. Then you can see there, you can access the Meet Your Future Self meditation for free and download it and do it anytime you want. Super helpful. It's also a great meditation for manifestation. All right.
I had one question.
Yes.
I wanted to know what all do you provide, like one-on-one, and what are other workshops do you provide? If you can give a little brief on your services, that
Sure.
would be great.
Yeah, so I do private sessions one-on-one with people, either in person in Bali or over Zoom if you are not in Bali. I can work with people. I tend to do about between usually if people want to really learn all the fundamentals, I'll do about 12 sessions. But you can certainly schedule one session, or I have package bundles as well if you want to book more than one session. I also work with people in teaching you all the basics and all the advanced skills of meditation in my 150-hour meditation teacher training, which is in person in Bali. I do that once a year. Next year, it's happening in May. Currently, the registration isn't open quite yet, but I am taking people on the wait list, and those who are on the wait list will be the first to know and be able to register. Last year we sold out, and I expect this year we will too. But it's a beautiful 18 days here in Bali where you just deep dive into meditation and many different forms of it. And you can do it if you're interested in teaching meditation to others, or if you're just doing it for your own personal development. Yeah. I also have retreats that I put on with my husband, Paul, who's a yoga teacher. So several times a year, we typically do a retreat somewhere in the world. We have one coming up in the United States in Sedona, Arizona this October 13th to 17th. And that's also on my website. Next year, we're planning one in Japan, in the mountains of Japan in March. And I have a wait list going for that as well on my website.
Oh,
Yeah.
so nice.
Yeah.
Could you also share more information about the bundle that you're talking about, like the 12 class? Like, what is it? Like, is it just focused on meditation, or
Yes.
we could come up with our concern and then the meditation is designed in a way to kind of help us? How
Yes.
does that work?
In a private session with me, everything is going to be tailored to what's going on with you. What I want to get to know what's going on in your world. What are you struggling with? What are your challenges? What are your goals? What are your dreams? wanting to feel more of. And we'll work together to craft and find what is the meditations practices that are going to specifically help you. Now, you're also going to learn the foundational skills that you'll need to know, that everyone needs to know to make meditation more effective. But when you're working one-on-one with a meditation coach, hopefully, like myself, it's all about finding what's right for you. I don't believe there's a one size fits all for everyone. So sometimes I will do private sessions with folks, and we will come up with a meditation practice that I've never honestly done with anyone else because it was so right for them. So that's how it works. Yeah.
And how does the timeline work? Like if it's a 12 session bundle, so it's like once in a week, once in 15 days, or it's just again tailored?
Yeah, they're 2-hour sessions, and we tend to do, I like to do the first few sessions pretty close together as you're learning the foundational skills, and then we'll spread them out. So the first few sessions, it's good to do like every 3 to 4 days or 5 days between. And then after that, we can wait a week and 2 weeks, and then eventually like once a month as you're just starting to fine tune things and get more time to practice the skills. And then the later sessions we spread out with a few months in between. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Sheila.
Yeah, that was helpful.
Yeah. Any other questions? Maggie, I saw
I
you
do.
come off. Yeah.
Yeah. In that 10-minute was that 10 minutes, that meditation?
Give or take.
Yeah. We had, how many affirmations did you have in there? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I had 3 core affirmations. I worked with I am enough, I am worthy, and I am capable. And I started off with just saying those outright. And then I gave a little bit more flavor to them. I am enough just as I am. I am worthy of love, of respect, of abundance. I am capable of doing anything I put my mind to. So you can see how you can play with affirmations to be more specific for yourself.
Yeah. I see. So when you're, because I would like to start practicing this, and I was hearing different things in there, and then my mind just kind of stuck with I deserve abundance, and it just kept coming over and over again.
Right.
So that was kind of my question, like when you have only 10 minutes in your day, is it, I don't know, better, or is it more effective if you just focus maybe on like that one affirmation? Or I know it's probably just how it flows in your mind, but is it more effective if you only have like 1 or 2, and depending on, say I have 30 minutes, should I try to evolve those, or what would you
don't really need 30 minutes to do a meditation like this. I'd say, a lot can happen in 3 minutes. These don't have to be long meditations. I would say try 3 minutes at first, then move up to 5 minutes, then make your way to 7, then make your way to 10 minutes, if that feels good. But starting off small is usually really helpful. And then I would pick one theme to work with. If the theme is about being capable, if when you do those exercises that I was listing about figuring out what is the things that I'm really struggling with, the limiting beliefs, and then that'll help you determine what is a affirmation that is going to counter that, right? I would pick a few minutes to just spend with that one, right? To just go deep into that one affirmation. And then you might find variations of it come out, like what I just said. So you can play with it. There's no real hard, fast rule here of right or wrong when it comes to affirmations. A lot of it's just an exploration for you and working with what resonates. The key is to work with an affirmation that I mentioned that your subconscious mind can start to believe right away. If you go too far to the extreme, if you go from I'm not lovable to everyone loves me, that's like, it's too far of a stretch, right? It's hard for our subconscious mind to really get on with that and believe that. So we got to start somewhere. I am willing to believe that I'm lovable. I'm willing to believe that I'm lovable. I'm willing to believe that I'm lovable. The next one could be, it's possible that I'm lovable. It's possible that I'm lovable. And then you might start to think about the evidence behind that. What are the times that I have evidence to prove that I was lovable? My mom loved me, or so-and-so cared about me. Okay. Once you start to really, once that feels like effortless and yeah, I got this, like it's possible I'm lovable, then you move on to something such as, I'm realizing that I'm lovable, right? I'm realizing that I'm lovable. And then you can finally get to, I am lovable. I am lovable. Right? So that may or may
Gotcha.
not be helpful for you. You might just find
No,
just
that's
going to the
helpful.
end goal is okay for you, but for many people, they need to stagger it in steps, baby steps.
Well, I think you like kind of brought us through that journey a little bit in the affirmations, because it was like, I'm enough. And then I was like, I deserve abundance. And I was like, I went straight there. So I was clearly at that point. Like I was ready for that affirmation where it was like, I am enough, but I deserve, you know? So that's what I wanted to kind of clarify. Thank you. It was great. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Is there any last burning question or comment? Everyone, so great to have you here. Thanks for sticking through the call. I hope this is helpful for you, and really, really appreciate your energy and your questions and feedback.